Hello, my dear brothers and sisters. I'm so sorry about yesterday's mess up. I realized what had happened was that I put my thumb over the mic on my phone while I was recording from time to time. It wasn't consistent, it just depended on how I was holding it. So, yeah, I really wanted to get that video out yesterday. I had a lot of challenges. Extreme fatigue as I was preparing to do it. I just became so incredibly exhausted that I just had to stop and take some time with the Lord and just wait on Him for Him to give me my strength back so I could actually do the video. And then we had a time constraint because a dear brother and sister had invited us over for dinner last night, and so I only had a certain amount of time to do it, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to preview it before I uploaded it just to make sure that it was done properly. So sorry if that caused any frustration. Okay, so I went through it today and I see, the main thing that I wanted to share and what was muted, the main part of what was muted that I want to really emphasize. So I'm more or less just going to cut to the chase today. I'm not going to do the entire video over, but I will do the main point, and yeah, and cover pretty well what had been muted. All right, so, and today I am using a selfie stick to hold my phone, which I will not be using for selfies. Thank you very much. But my husband got it for free and I kept it, and this may be the purpose for it. So hopefully I will not put my thumb on the mic this time. All right, so here we go. Okay, so this was the first thing that got muted. I was just sharing a little bit about the first day of Hanukkah this year, and I sensed the Lord saying unveiling. Now, on that first day, there were a number of videos released that I found very interesting. One was Diana Olivieri's video where she had a message from the Lord saying, "I am come." Another sister, High C, I believe it was during Hanukkah, received the words, "The transfer has begun." I believe that's what it was. And then also on the very first day of Hanukkah, I saw a video of a UFO, and what really interested me about it, because I've seen a few, I don't look at a lot of them, but people have caught things in the sky that don't look normal before. But this particular video had a very, very clear view of this UFO. It was quite large on the screen relative to some of the others that I've seen, or probably all of the others. But what really caught my eye was it was in the middle of the day, and then there was a bright flash of light, and it just disappeared into another dimension, or whatever happened to it. But I really felt when I saw that huge flash of light right in the middle of the day, it was just like, look at me, I'm not hiding anymore. So yeah, I found that interesting. So that is the sense that I got from the Lord. I felt that He was saying that the unveiling has begun. Okay, so that's basically what I was sharing. That's the part that was muted. And then we'll continue on with the next part. So when I was thinking about the altar and that the Lord had built His own altar, I began to think about Haggai. And I went back to read it again, and I had the sense that there were some timing clues in there. So when I read Haggai 1:14b, it made me wonder about the timing of the Lord's word to me last year, basically that it was time to build the altar. So I went back into my notes to take a look. So let's look at Haggai 1:14b. All right, so before we go to that, I just want to explain what I did. So I went to the book and I read it and reread it, and I was trying to understand the timings of things. And I thought, okay, well, the best thing to do will just be to write out all the verses that have timing references. And so that's what I ended up doing. So as you can see here, the first reference is the 6th month, the first day. Okay, so it's a word to Zerubbabel and Joshua. These people say the time has not yet come for the Lord's house to be built. And then I just skipped to the parts that I felt to emphasize. So he said, build the house. Okay, let's get a little closer there. So that I may take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. Okay. And then Haggai 1:12, then, and they all, I didn't list everyone that was listed there, but it was everyone, obeyed the voice of the Lord their God, and the people feared the Lord. And I did share that word fear can be translated revere, and I do like that translation. So, and the people revered the Lord. All right, they lifted his name up high. They lifted him high and honored him. So that I like that. Then we came to the 6th month, the 24th day, Haggai 1:14b. They came and began to work on the house of the Lord Almighty, their God, on the 24th day of the 6th month in the 2nd year of King Darius. So I thought, wow, that took me back to last year when the Lord spoke to me. And I thought, well, I wonder what day that would have been. If we look on the Hebrew calendar, the Jewish calendar, 6th month, 24th day, what day would that have taken me to? So I went to the calendar and checked it out. So let's do that. All right, so now it's my understanding at this point that October 19th, okay, was the new moon of the 7th month. Okay, so this is the 7th month, and Yom Kippur was actually October 29th, okay, of 2017. So I looked back to September, and the new moon is on the 20th, so that would have been the 6th month. And then I counted 24 days from the 20th to see where I would land. And that took me down right here to October 14th. So the 6th month, the 24th day was October 14th. So then I went to my journal, and I'll do that now. As you can see, my entry is dated October 14th, 2017. It was Shabbat, which is the Sabbath on a Saturday. This was a supernatural experience because around 6 a.m. I was woken by a hand on my shoulder in the spirit. I struggled to wake up and pray, and I almost fell back to sleep, but I felt it was very important to stay awake. So I went downstairs to my chair, which is the same one that I use for my videos, and I felt the Lord impressing on me, there's work to do. Now I'm trying to remember, I do believe I shared on the previous video that I had kind of settled in, just waiting to go home. I thought I was done, but no, the Lord said there's work to do. And it was on October 14th, 2017. All right, so I just was looking in the spirit a little bit. I saw that the Lord had been feeding me a lot, giving me a lot of revelation. I did find earlier a little note in my journal saying that basically, you know, he was starting to show me a lot of things, and if he was going to keep doing that, I thought I would need to start a blog or something to share this stuff. So I think that's a reference to that. Then I also saw the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel to measure the capstone. There's another verse that refers to the plumb line, that these 7 rejoice when they see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. It means the building of the temple is beginning. So that's an exciting time. So I anointed Rob, just that he is part of the capstone generation. And then I came to Ezra. So I was looking mainly in Ezra and Nehemiah. At this point, that's where I felt led to look. And you see the highlighted part there that they builded the altar of God, the God of Israel, to offer burnt offerings thereon. And I really felt that that was what the Lord was emphasizing, that was the first thing that needed to be done. And so that was his message to me that day, that it was time to build the altar. So to be honest, I did find that a little bit freaky, that it is the exact day that was mentioned in the book of Haggai when they began to work on the house of the Lord. So let's continue with the timing notes from Haggai. So the 7th month, the 21st day, the word came to Zerubbabel, Joshua, and the remnant. Haggai 2:3 says, "Who of you is left who saw this house in its former glory? How does it look to you now? Does it not seem to you like nothing? But now be strong and work, for I am with you, declares the Lord Almighty." Verse 5, "This is what I covenanted with you when you came out of Egypt." Do you remember back in November 2016, the Lord said, we're leaving Egypt. Okay. "And my spirit remains among you. Do not fear." Verse 6, "In a little while." Okay, so this was another, I've got a star there because this is another timing reference. Okay, so remember, it was last year on October 14th that the Lord said it was time to begin to build. Okay, and here we are. It says, "In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land. I will shake all nations, and the desired of all nations will come. And I will fill this house with glory, says the Lord Almighty." Okay, the desired of all nations. That makes me think of, well, the man-child, but also all creation groans and waits, all right, for the revelation or the unveiling of the sons of God. All right, "The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty." And I'm going to show you a verse referring to that a little bit later. Let's carry on. "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord Almighty." All right. So in the Gospels, we read about the believers being the temple of the Lord and being built as living stones into the temple of the Lord. And we know that there was great glory on the original church. Okay. But what I believe this is saying here, I mean, there's levels of meaning. Okay. It does also talk about, the Temple of Solomon and the glory that was on that compared to this temple that the people are building in Haggai's time. But I believe it also is speaking of the comparison between the church that is about to be birthed or about to be glorified, and the original church, okay, in the days of the apostles. And here where it says, "And in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord Almighty." So that brings me back to an experience that I had years ago that I have shared, but I don't know if I've emphasized really the peace aspect of it that much. It was when Jesus took me to see the Father. And and we went flying through, dimensions and space. I knew that we were going very, very fast into some other realm, basically. And then all of a sudden, I was before the Father, and I looked up, and there he was looking at me. And he had a look, he appeared to me as my own earthly father at a particular time. And all I can say is that I could see that he was absolutely delighted with me. His eyes were full of delight as he looked at me, and it was like, why? But anyways, so I did share that before, but what I want to share is when I came out of that experience, I was covered in this most incredible peace. And I could see in the spirit that I was covered with a cloud of glory that was about a foot thick. And I was just, nothing could touch me, right? It was like, oh man, everything's okay. Like nothing, absolutely nothing can happen that could disturb that peace. It was like, everything's okay. Daddy is taking care of everything. And I had not a worry in the world. And I did, and it lasted for about maybe, about 2 weeks, 10 days maybe to 2 weeks. And I asked the Lord, can other people feel this? And I went to something, just a dance, a worship dance kind of club thing at the church I was attending at the time. And I got there and I was in a hallway, and there were a couple of ladies just maybe 10 or 15 feet away. And I don't remember what I was doing, but I wasn't that close to them. But I do remember what they said. Suddenly, they had been talking and they stopped and they said, wow, can you feel that peace? Like there's just so much peace here. And I was like, oh, that is awesome, so they can actually feel this too. So I thought that was very cool. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I believe that is what the Lord is bringing us into, but in a permanent way, into that an incredible place of peace where we know that everything is okay. Okay, so let's move on. So then my next note is for the 9th month, the 24th day. So Haggai 2:14. Then Haggai said, so it is with the people, this people, and this nation in my sight, declares the Lord. Whatever they do and whatever they offer there is defiled. Okay, so if you want to read the previous verses, you can. And it explains that. That's not the main point here because you'll see as we go along. So now give careful thought to this. From this day on, consider how things were before one stone was laid upon another in the Lord's temple. I struck all the work of your hands with blight, mildew, and hail, yet you did not turn to me, declares the Lord. From this day on, from this 24th day of the 9th month, give careful thought to the day when the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid. Give careful thought. Is there yet any seed left in the barn? Until now, the vine and the fig tree, the pomegranate and the olive tree have not borne fruit. From this day on, I will bless you. And I thought, okay, well, let's try looking at the 9th month, the 24th day for 2017 and see where that takes us. So let's go to the calendar. All right, so the 9th month last year began. The new moon was on the 18th of December, 2017. And then if we go to the 24th day, that brings us to January 11th. It's interesting because on January 17th was when I published on YouTube a song for the bride. Now, yeah, I didn't really want to do that, but it was approximately a week before, and just in my quiet time with the Lord, I sang that song to him, and it had always been our song. I never really shared it with anyone else except my closest friend. On her wedding day, she wanted me to sing it there, so I did that. But other than that, I hadn't shared it with anybody else. And And it was about a week before, although I don't know the exact day because unfortunately on my notes in that time frame I didn't put dates. I don't know why. But I will take you to those notes just out of interest's sake. So let's take a quick look at those. So here's a word of the Lord from a friend of mine named Susan. This is what she heard. Kick against the darkness until it bleeds daylight. And it felt extremely significant to me. And I prayed into it, and this is the interpretation that I felt the Lord gave me. So I suddenly pictured a baby in the womb, and the command was for when the pressure came, the baby was to kick and push against the darkness, the womb. Then I felt the sensation of the baby's head progressing. The funny thing is that I never thought of the baby as having a role to play in the birth. So this is about the time frame, basically, of this YouTube channel starting. Okay, and then I'm just taking you to some things that I noted down during this time frame. I was receiving these kind of phrases: kill shot, reset button, kill switch, and shot heard around the world. And I was praying into those. And yeah, I've shared that on a previous video too, just that I feel that those things are associated, and I suspect that those things are associated with the change when that comes. Okay, and then Gideon's army strategy. Clay pots over the lights until battle time, and the barley loaf prophecy. So the barley loaf speaks of first fruits. And when I read this, the clay pots over the lights until battle time, and the Lord telling me at the beginning of Hanukkah 2018 that this is the unveiling, I feel like he's cracking the clay pots. And I will mention that the Lord told Rob recently, and I do believe it was during the Hanukkah time, he said, the enemy is trying to kill you. So it's like all of a sudden, he can be seen. And as I said, it seems like the enemy with the UFOs and that are just kind of saying, yeah, I'm here. So, what else have I got here? Obedience, birth of a channel, okay. Revelation, first steps, awkward. Okay, that has to do with when I first started doing YouTube. Okay, so we'll cut it off there. All right, so back to Haggai. Now I want to emphasize that I would not be bringing this to you if that first reference, the 6th month, the 24th day, had not landed exactly on the day that the Lord spoke to me about wanting to build the altar and starting to build. So as I said, I can't tell you that that it was the exact day that the Lord said it was time to share that song. But I've also had the sense that that this channel is actually my song. It's a song to the Lord. And I'm sorry, it's not the greatest song as far as I'm concerned. But, he did tell me that I'm perfect for my purpose. I don't know exactly what my purpose is. It might have something to do with timing. But fundamentally, my purpose is just to be obedient and do what I believe he's asking me to do. That's my biggest purpose. So, all right, let's carry on here. So, and this, I want to say, I've looked, and I cannot find anywhere else in the Bible where it speaks twice of a prophecy given on the exact same day, but that it was separated. This is the only time where that I have seen, and I used my concordance and stuff to look it up, where two prophecies were given on the exact same day, but they were separated specifically. So let's just read the second one. So again, all right, the previous one, the 9th month, the 24th day, all right? And from this day on, I will bless you. Then, in Haggai 2:20, the 9th month, the 24th day, the word of the Lord came to Haggai a second time. And it's been translated again a second time. Okay, I thought I worded it better last time, but of course it was muted, so I'm going to try to word this properly. Why was it separated? Is it because the 9th month, the 24th day, was 1 year, and then the second reference to the 9th month, the 24th day, was the second 9th month, 24th day, after the Lord said to build, which would mean this year, the 9th month, the 24th day? So that's my question. So let's read what it says. Tell Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, that I will shake the heavens and the earth. I will overturn royal thrones and shatter the power of the foreign kingdoms. Verse 23, on that day, declares the Lord Almighty, I will take you, my servant Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, declares the Lord, and I will make you like my signet ring, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord. Well, what's a signet ring? Okay, a king would have had a signet ring, and it would have been, he would use that to authenticate something, to say, you know, this is legitimate. He would also use it to identify something that belonged to him, that had been approved. I feel like this is referring to the man-child. All right. So I decided to look at this year, the 9th month, the 24th day. So the 9th month, the new moon was on December 7th. If we count 24 days from the 7th of December, we come down here to the second 9th month, 24th day, which, interestingly enough, is on New Year's Eve. And I do not know what it will look like. All I'm doing is saying to you that I feel like that's a significant day. Is that the day that this is referring to? On that day, declares the Lord Almighty, I will take you, my servant Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, declares the Lord, and I will make you like my signet ring, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord. So I wanted to submit this to you for your for you to pray through and discern. And I don't know. I mean, if his word to me last year had not been on the exact day that was mentioned in Haggai, I wouldn't be bringing this to you. Okay, but I feel like it's important that I do. I don't know. So I'm submitting it to you. Now, I did have a couple of other verses that I wanted to share with you. Isaiah 60:22. The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. And I believe the Lord started the clock. Well, I would say at the beginning of 2017, he spoke to me. Well, he anointed me with Isaiah 61 way back. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2003. And I'd been waiting and waiting for something to happen. I thought it felt significant, but it was like, well, what was the point of that, right? And then finally, in 2017, in the spring of 2017, he said to me, this is the year. And he brought to mind Isaiah 61. And so here we have in Isaiah 60, it says, in its time, I will do this swiftly. And we can see, going back through the things that we've been through this year, the year of redemption, the various feasts and stuff, and the Lord, the things the Lord was doing during those times specifically, we can see that things have been progressing, just consistently with his feast timings. So, yeah, it does seem that things have progressed. So, and he said he would do it swiftly. So, yeah, that's just another verse, food for thought. And then here's one, last winter, 2017, 2018. I don't have it noted in my journal. I think maybe I've lost that book, and I think this part actually might not have been muted. Hang on, I'll just double check. And I just wanted to include here concerning the verse that mentioned the signet ring. I felt that this was associated to that. This is Malachi 3:17. They will be mine, right? Remember we said the signet indicates that the signet ring belongs to the king. Anyway, they will be mine, says the Lord Almighty, in the day when I make up my treasured possession. I will spare them just as in compassion a man spares his son who serves him. And you will again see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between those who serve God and those who do not. And while we're in Malachi, I want to look at verse 2, chapter 3, verse 2. But who can endure the day of his coming? Who can stand when he appears? For he will be like a refiner's fire or a launderer's soap. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. And then they will bring righteous offerings. That the gold and silver, where it says in Malachi, the gold is mine and the silver is mine. Also, I just wanted to share quickly that I had an experience when